Hello everyone, my name is Bulos Eli Salame, and today I'll be presenting an article summary for the article Companies Need to Rethink What Cybersecurity Leadership Is by Matthew Doan. This article was published on November 27, 2019 on the Harvard Business Review website. This is how the summary will be presented. First, I'll be discussing how cybersecurity has always been viewed as an afterthought. Second, I'll be going through the changing role of Chief Information Security Officers. Third, I'll be discussing the suggested framework that is presented by the author, which involves the intent behind cybersecurity strategy, giving influence to the cybersecurity function, as well as picking the right cyber leader candidates for the specific jobs that are required. Finally, I'll be going through some closing remarks on the topic. Matthew kicks off the article by explaining how companies are having a hard time making cybersecurity an integral part of their strategy, operations, and culture. In fact, when making strategic decisions, firms have been treating cybersecurity as an afterthought. This on itself is creating a twofold issue. Whereas cybersecurity is treated as a back office job, and cyber leaders are not given the proper tools to have a strategic influence and actually make a difference in the companies where they are working. All this combines to cyber leaders typically spending around 18 months at a specific company. Seeing as they occupy some high-level positions, they would probably need more time in order for them to make a dent and actually make a change at the firms where they are hired. The article then discusses the changing role of CISOs. In the past, when companies would hire Chief Information Security Officers, they would want them to focus on the technical tasks only. So they didn't really have much more expectations from them on the different aspects of the business. Cyber leaders, however, have the important goal of securing a business. But when companies were making big strategic decisions about product mix, digital strategy, as well as business models, cybersecurity has always been seen as an afterthought. This meant that companies lost out on the value that the function can bring. Nowadays, with the changing threats, different expectations have risen. CISOs are now expected to lead. They need to respond to rapid threats, and they also need to exert a certain influence on senior leaders. Threats have now become much quicker and much more complex, so the board members as well as the high-level executive need to reset the expectations of what a cyber leader is, and they also need to provide them with the proper tools for them to perform their jobs as effectively as possible. Research conducted by New America, where Matthew Doan is a cybersecurity policy fellow, along with his observations from multiple consulting engagements, suggests a framework with three different major ideas. The first idea is that a company needs to set its intent with its cybersecurity strategy. There is no one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to choosing a cybersecurity strategy because each business presents a unique set of risks. However, some primary options to consider while building a strategy are the following ones: bottom line growth, business continuity, which is an organization's ability to ensure operations and core business functions are not severely impacted by a disaster or unplanned incidents, brand protection, and compliance, which in cybersecurity means creating a program that establishes risk-based controls to protect the integrity, confidentiality, and accessibility of information owned by the company. Regulatory pressure, risk exposure, and what consumers value are factors related to the business context that will drive the choice of the strategy. The second major idea that comes from the suggested framework is positioning the cybersecurity function to have influence. Positioning needs to be broken down into location, authority, and incentives. For example, putting IT operations and security under the IT function and on the same budget may create problems. We also need to identify the type of influence that we want cybersecurity to have. Cybersecurity needs to be tailored to specific elements, since data and digital infrastructure are not neatly contained. In addition, cyber leaders need to have authority to make change happen across the business. They must have political sway and a top-level mandate to orchestrate change across the business. Finally, since cybersecurity cannot operate in a vacuum, business leaders need to find ways to incentivize the right stakeholders to work in collaboration with the cybersecurity function. This may be done through different means, including incentives that would create healthy peer pressure that will encourage executives to partner up with the cybersecurity leaders within the same company. The third major idea that the suggested framework presents is that of choosing the right cyber leader for your needs. In fact, boards and C-suite executives should prioritize mindset over technical skills when they're considering and evaluating cyber leaders. Some of the most important characteristics in terms of mindset that jump out are those of having an expansive worldview, being a good motivator, understanding how neuroscience can improve leadership, and being willing to learn. With this being said, cyber leaders still need to appreciate technical capabilities, but focus on exerting influence on business strategy, technology decision, as well as enterprise risk management. To succeed at their jobs, cyber leaders must be able to build relationships within the organizations while developing their teams. They also need to simplify concepts in order to convey the right messages to senior leaders. By doing so, they are able to grab their attention and eventually get their contribution. To close things off, the article discusses how the New America research and Matthew Doan's consulting work prove that this framework functions and it helps mitigate business risk, reduce friction with regulators, lays the foundation for technology and security, and increase competitive advantage. However, for it to actually work, it requires top-down initiative from company leaders to avoid that cybersecurity remains a back-office insignificant activity. In fact, cybersecurity should be an essential ingredient to business success. I thank you all for taking the time to listen to this summary.